Cool. Let's bring on Alex. Hey, Alex, you are live on the line with Matt and Promise. What did you want to talk to us about today? You got a God you believe in,
Hey, Promise.
or something you want to start us
Yeah.
off with so we know exactly what your stance is?
What's up, Promise? What's up, Matt? I've been a lifelong atheist. It's just like it never stuck to me. But and then I found Matt probably like 2 months ago. Started watching the videos. I found it entertaining. I like when he cusses at people, hangs up on them. You know what I'm saying? I kind of like that.
I
Entertaining.
think you're watching
And you're
for the
very
wrong
sweet,
reasons
Promise.
then.
Say it again.
But also, you say you've been a lifelong atheist and you started watching a couple months
Right.
ago, and now you're calling in as a theist, right?
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
Because
So
a couple of
what
days ago,
convinced
I got shot at. Shot at
you?
with an
You got
automatic
shot
Glock.
at?
Yeah.
Cool.
Me and a couple other people that had
Cool
nothing
that
to
I
do with it.
understood you, not cool that you got shot at. I'm very sorry that you were
Right.
shot at. What does getting shot
I
at
didn't get
have to
hit.
do with
No,
whether or not there's a
nobody got
God?
hit. Nobody got hit.
What is
Well,
being
when I got
shot
shot
at?
at,
Okay.
right, when I got shot at, something hit me, a wave hit me. It felt like I had been hit by a bullet. I was almost certain of it. And I began to think about what it really means to believe in God, right? And after watching all your videos, I never heard anybody ask this question. I want to pose a question to you.
Okay.
Why do
So
you think?
let me pause. Alex, are you
Yes,
going to
sir.
remember your question if I interrupt you now?
Go ahead.
Okay. This isn't a quiz show where you call in to ask us questions. This is a show where you call
Right.
in to defend your belief. Just hang on, let me get this out.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna wait and let you ask the question, and we'll do our best to answer it.
Okay.
And hopefully that will
Okay.
encourage you to answer the questions that we have.
Right. I
So
will.
what question do you have for us that you've never heard in the 20 years I've done this?
Right. Now, I ain't watched all your info, but I've never heard this question asked. Why is there so many people that believe in a higher power? Like, there's the entire human history. Now, explain that.
People are similar creatures with similar brains trying to solve similar problems. They are similarly lazy and they are similarly prone to rationality. And so when somebody,
But you're
and we're
different.
all, yes, I am different, but if you'd let me finish answering your question before you chime in with some smug shit, that would be great.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So we're all
Okay.
dissatisfied with not knowing the answers. And some people are more prone to accepting answers that aren't sufficient and don't have sufficient justification in order to make them more comfortable with not knowing. I am not one of those people because my discomfort with not knowing the answer cannot be solved by appealing to bullshit, irrationality, unfounded beliefs. The God proposition is not an explanation for anything because you don't explain things in terms of a mystery. You explain things in terms of other things you understand. My brain cannot accept
Okay.
claims that aren't supported by evidence and claims that
Right.
do not actually solve the problem. That doesn't mean I'm better.
Right.
It doesn't, but yes, I am in fact different in the sense that I, unlike every believer I've ever spoken to, managed to figure out that their reasons and justifications were fallacious. I'm hoping that I can help other people begin to realize, because I think we're all pretty much capable of it, that their reasons are
Right.
bad. Now, what does almost getting shot have to do with whether or not there's a God?
When you're in a situation, your brain begins to reach out for anything that'll help. You know what I'm saying? Anything that'll soothe you.
That's not
Right
actually
now,
true.
you said
That's not actually true. I'm an
Okay, well,
8+ year
ev-
veteran. I'm an 8+ year veteran of the United States military, and there are plenty of
oh, I didn't know that.
atheists in Fox. There are plenty of atheists in foxholes. Pat Tillman, by the way, was an atheist and served and died. While people
Right.
in
Well, I
desperation
appreciate.
people in their desperation will flail around for almost anything.
Right.
That tells you nothing at all
Right.
about whether or not what they're flailing for is real and whether or not they have good
Well,
reason to believe it.
you know, I appreciate your service. Thank you for that. My
I,
my old man's a
I'd
veteran.
appreciate
And
it
a
if
lot
you'd
of my
stop
family members.
interrupting me, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Um, no, when the shots rang off, I pulled my gun out. I got ready to shoot back, but I still felt that feeling. It didn't go away. I mean, you can be ready for action, but
What does this
you're
have
still
to
gonna
do
be as
with
weak as the
God?
next man. Okay, it made me develop a question. Why does everybody believe in it if there's not something to it? Now I don't believe in
Everybody,
Jesus.
but Alex, everybody doesn't believe in a God, first of all.
At some point in
Also
your
there
life, you will.
also
No, sir.
okay,
No, sir. No,
I'm gonna
sir.
mute
Please
I'm gonna
stop
mute you for a
interrupting
second.
Promise and making shit up and listen so that you can learn.
I muted him for now. And Alex, I know that you're wanting to show that you're listening by saying yes, yes, sir, all the things you're saying, but because of the lag, it actually hinders the conversation. So it's easier if you let us finish what we're saying and then you respond. But first of all, I did believe in a God for 20 plus years. So that time in my life already happened. And until somebody shows evidence and gives me a reason why I should go back to believing any God exists, I don't foresee that changing. So here's the problem. Believing something doesn't make it true. It doesn't matter if everyone believed it. That doesn't make the thing true. And we have had the majority of civilization believe all kinds of things that weren't true, that we later found out weren't true. So I think when people learn better and they stop filling in the blank with things that they don't have the right to fill in the blank with, like God, when they don't understand something, then they do better and they don't believe these things that we have no reason to believe.
Right, real quick, to kind of dovetail in with that, when I say you're wrong, I have friends who are lifelong atheists. I am on the board of directors for American Atheists, the national organization. We have plenty of members who are lifelong atheists. I have former friends who are third, and fourth generation atheists. And we know there are people who do not have God beliefs, but there's an entire group of indigenous people in the Amazon called the Paraha that don't even have a concept of God, or didn't when we first interacted with them. And they definitely don't believe in a God. So while you are running around playing I got a gun, you got a gun, which is already stupid, you develop a question, which is, hey, why do people believe something if there's not something to it? Well, the answer is maybe they believe something because they're all similarly irrational. The claim, as Promise was pointing out, needs its own supporting evidence, not just a fallacious attempt at shifting the burden of proof to say, oh, maybe it's rational to believe in God until you prove he doesn't exist, which is basically what you're doing. That this fallacious argumentum ad populum, appeal to the popularity of it, all these people believe, tells you nothing at all about whether or not what they believe is true, because at some point, most people on the planet believed a number of things that turned out to be false.
Okay, is it my turn? The way I feel about it is that first of all, I'm a born atheist. Born. You understand what I'm saying? Like it never stuck to me. My mom loves church. My grandma, she loves church. She's 101 years old
So
by now.
I don't
I mean, by the
care.
way.
I don't care, and it's not relevant.
What, you gonna let me finish?
No, I'm not going to let you finish. That's why I'm interrupting you in order to get to something that's actually relevant. As I've mentioned in the last call and several other times, I don't need your backstory. Of course, you were born an atheist. I'm convinced everybody is born without a belief in God, and it's something you're indoctrinated into or learn or come about later on. I don't need your backstory.
Yeah, it never stuck. It's never stuck.
I don't need your. Go ahead, try talking over me. See how that fucking works for you. I don't need your backstory.
Here we go.
I need you to defend your newfound theism, and you are failing to do that or even come close to it. You have presented fallacy and false statement over and over, and now you're down to backstory. Prove there's a God.
Okay, check this out. Look at the data. Look at all the data of the people that believed in the past and the future maybe. Think about
okay, this is entirely too stupid for anybody to waste any time on. If you're going to say go look at the future data, you're just barfing up garbage.
I'm saying, no, I know.
No, you are barfing up garbage, sir. No, sir, you are barfing up garbage because I asked you to demonstrate that a God exists, and your reply is that we need to go look at the data. First of all, sir,
I can't
shut your mouth. There's no shut genie. Your mouth. Shut your mouth until I'm done talking.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I want you to do what you said you were going to do, which is defend the God concept. But if you're just going to say, hey, there's a bunch of data that shows people believe this, I'm well aware of that. That doesn't demonstrate a God exists. But if you're going to be stupid enough to suggest that I look at the future data as if it exists, now you're just a cartoon. You are not a serious thinker. You were an atheist until 2 months ago when gunshots rang out and you asked yourself a question, and that you think is sufficient to conclude that you have reason to believe in a God. That is so bizarrely confused and ridiculous that I don't know how to address it, but I do know I'm not going to let you sit here and keep talking. So present your evidence for a God, or we'll say goodbye and move on to somebody who will do what they said they'd do.
Okay, my evidence for a God is that I'm not dead from gunshots, and my entire life's been lucky. Now, I know that's personal, and a lot of other people have personal testimonies too.
Nope.
Can you prove luck?
Alex,
can you prove luck? Prove luck. Prove luck. Let's hear you prove something.
So once again, Alex. Once again, Alex.
Other people's ideas.
Again, Alex.
Ask me a question.
Again, Alex. Once again, Alex. Once again, Alex. Once again, Alex. You are talking when you should be having your mouth shut, because saying prove luck is also stupid. It is another attempt to shift the burden of proof. See, you can't prove God, so you want me to prove, oh, people are just irrational. Well, people are irrational, and I can prove it because there's 1,000 other gods that they believe in that you don't believe in. You've picked something. Also, prove luck. Well, first of all, luck isn't a thing. And I don't believe you that you've experienced unrealistic luck. But even if you had, you said your proof of God is that you're not dead from a gunshot wound. Well, neither the fuck am I. And I've been in positions where that was at least as likely as your gunshot story. And plus, so have thousands, if not millions of other people been in firefights and survived. If you think the fact that you survived when gunshots rang out is evidence for a God, I have nothing else to say. That is irrational, fallacious, unfounded. It is not evidence. And I suggest that you go and learn the basics of skepticism and critical thinking, because if you continue like this, there is nothing that you won't be gullible enough to buy into if you keep using, ooh, I've been really lucky, there must be a God, as the sort of reasoning that you're going to rely on. Well, it is unwise. Promise? I'm sorry.
And Alex, I'll unmute you in a second, but I just want to say how arrogant it sounds to hear you cite your lack of being shot as something from God when 3,500 kids die from gunshot wounds every year. I have people that have personally been impacted by having a family member or a loved one die due to being shot. And so to say that there was something about you, that God just loved you more and showed up and gave you this luck that you want us to prove, is really, really wild. I don't understand how you were able to reach that conclusion, that God protected you or whatever it may be. Somehow God was involved with you not getting shot. But all these kids die every year from gunshot wounds. And I'm talking little kids, like like 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old.
I'm off mute. Like, I didn't hear the last tail end of what you said. Promise.
Do
Why
you
did
know
God
what my
save
main point
you and
was?
not all the kids that die?
Right.
Right. Okay. Well, that's an excellent retort. Promise. That's your name, right? Promise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a
Our
good one.
name's
That's
not
an
relevant to
excellent
your
one.
answer either, but I appreciate that you
Okay.
got
Well,
it
let me
right.
get down. Let me get down to it. Okay.
I've been waiting for the entirety of this call. I've been waiting for 15 minutes and 24 seconds for you to get down to it with something that makes sense and is relevant. So let's do it.
You haven't said too much either, Matt. You just been going on
Excuse
trying to
me.
dismantle what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me mute you again, Alex. That's my fucking job. You're here to present your reason, and I'm here to evaluate it. And then either say, Alex has got it. Alex has come up with an evidence-based syllogism that I think is good and confirms God and convinces me. Or I'm here to point out what has happened over and over with you, shifting the burden of proof fallacies. Everything. Prove there's luck. I don't need to prove there's luck. Every time you say prove this instead of proving yours, you are admitting you do not have a reason. You ask me why people believe stuff. What did I do? I gave you a robust, thorough answer that is in line with the facts that all of us know and understand, that people are in fact uncomfortable with not knowing. They are in fact irrational. They are in fact prone to and have historically believed many things that turned out to not be true. It is simply a fact that the number of people who believe something, how strongly they are convinced of it, has nothing to do with whether or not it's true. Similarly, how lucky you feel you are has nothing to do with why you feel you're lucky and whether or not you are lucky and why. You are engaged in the same sort of sloppy thinking that all of us do, but you are not seeming to be willing to acknowledge even the basics of logic and rational thought. And so, yes, you don't think I've done anything here. I think everybody listening who isn't you understands which one of us has done all of the heavy lifting in this conversation, Promise and I, or you. So, for the last time, before we move on to somebody else, how did you rule out how did you rule out the idea that all of these people who believe in a God are simply mistaken?
How did I rule that out?
Yes.
That they were mistaken? I didn't
Yes.
believe in Jesus. I think the story is ridiculous. All the other mythological stories are ridiculous. I'm not calling about that. I'm talking about a higher power, not necessarily a Lord.
Alex, why on earth? It's like you
That's
can't
not what
even
Matt
listen.
asked.
It's not even in the ballpark. It's like you didn't pay any attention to the question. I didn't ask you about
No, I
Jesus
listened
or
to every word you
Christianity.
said.
No,
Matt didn't
you're
bring up
hearing, but
Jesus.
you are not listening. I asked you how you ruled out the possibility that all of the people who believe in gods are just wrong. How did you determine that they're not all wrong?
Oh, yeah, okay, that's not the same question you asked, but I'll
It
answer
is the
that.
same fucking question. No, sir.
It literally is.
It literally is, and we could put up a poll in chat, or we could fucking rewind. But once again, when I tell you, I've done this for ages. I am very careful and deliberate with my questions. I will make mistakes, but I won't make nearly as many mistakes as you continue to make every few seconds throughout the entirety of this conversation. You have concluded that because people believe there must be something to it, and that thing must be a God. And my question was, how did you rule out the likelihood or the possibility that they were wrong? I know what I asked. I've done this for ages. Now answer the fucking question, please.
Okay. Answer coming up. Think about how old the human race is. Okay. When we were developing from.
I'm going to mute you again. I don't need a preamble. I don't need answer coming up, and I don't need to go back to think about the human race. You, as a process, determined that all of the people who believed in a God can't have been wrong. I need you to show us, and this is the absolute knockdown last time I'm going to ask. I need you to explain to us how you determined that they can't all be wrong. Go.
Because naturally it's hardwired into us. And we were
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Belief is not hardwired into us. And even if belief was a natural product of our lines of thinking, that wouldn't in any way demonstrate that everyone who believed in a God was in fact wrong or not wrong. You have no understanding at all about how to demonstrate the veracity of a claim. You have no concept of what sort of evidence might be required and what is sufficient to warrant believing in something, which is why when you had a wild circumstance in your life, you, never having been given the tools of critical thinking and not having the first clue about how to tell whether something's real, go leaping to a God.
That's a lie.
You've got to do all your work all over again.
Check this out. Check this out.
No, I don't need to check it out.
I have a very good, well, you're going to listen then, right? I have very critical thinking skills.
No, you don't.
Better than you.
Okay.
I guarantee it.
Then, okay. Alex, you never answered my question, which is, how did you figure out that God was a part of saving you from gunshots, but not the thousands of innocent kids that die every year? We just kind of skirted around that somehow.
Because I definitely didn't say that God saved me. I didn't say that. I said,
do you think God was involved? Do you think God was part of you not getting shot?
Hell no. I really don't.
Okay, I'm going to mute you right now because now you're just a fucking liar. Because I took notes. And when I asked you to demonstrate what is the reason that you are convinced that there's a God, you said, because I'm not dead from gunshots. And now, when Promise has politely waited for you to get back to it, has now asked you if you think God is the reason that you weren't killed, you're like, hell no. You, sir, are a liar. You are disingenuous. I don't know if you are just ridiculous and irrational or if you're trying to prank us. But when asked why you believe in God, you said it's because you're not dead. And then when asked if you think God had something to do with why you're not dead, your answer is hell no. You are in such a contradictory place that you are either lying or so confused you need professional help. Which one is it, Captain Rational?
Okay, check this. Listen.
Can I, no. Alex, I'm gonna try one last question that I think might either get us on track or show that this call needs to be over. Can you tell Matt and I very succinctly why we should believe that a God exists?
Because otherwise you wouldn't be breathing and talking. Simple as that.
How do you know that? What's your evidence of that? How do you know that that's true?
It's actually false. I don't believe in a God.
Because people, no, listen. I'm not done talking.
No, I'm not going to listen. You're going to listen. It's my fucking show. You are demonstrably false. I do not believe in a God, and I am breathing and talking. Therefore, your assertion about why it's essential that we believe in a God is false. Captain, more rational than me. You have committed more fallacies in the last 23 minutes than I have in the last 23 months. But when we ask something and you say, oh, it's important for you to believe in God because otherwise you wouldn't be breathing or talking, you are demonstrably false. I do not believe in a God and I am breathing and talking. QED.
The reason that I'm not dead from a bullet wound wasn't because some entity came and scooped the bullet out of the air like the Matrix. That's not what happened.
We didn't say that. Okay, Alex, if you're not going to stay on the same topic that we're on, and if you're not going to acknowledge when what you've said has been directly fucking shown to be false, I don't care to continue talking to you. Promise didn't say anything about God scooping the bullet out. Promise to ask you if God was the reason that you weren't dead. And she asked that because previously when I said, what is your reason for believing in God? It was because I'm not dead. We're not the ones with the communication problem here. So once again, are you going to acknowledge that when you said that we need to believe in God, because if we don't, we can't breathe and talk, that you were wrong?
Say that last part again. The beep cut you off.
Yes. Well, Promise said, why should we believe in God? And you said, because if we don't, we can't be breathing or talking, which is clearly false. Would you like to acknowledge that that's false and try to find a way to rehabilitate it, or are we going to move on?
Okay. To answer Promise's question, the reason I'm not dead is because there's a future laid out.
No, Alex,
sir.
Alex, that's not the question that Matt just asked you. Are you paying attention to the conversation that we're trying to have with you, or are you just having your own conversation like somewhere else? Because we just covered why we don't even need to get back to your answer about that. Matt went and asked you this other question. This is the problem with why, like, with not answering questions as we ask them, is then things get confusing. But Matt just made it very clear what he's asking you. You asked him to repeat his question. Do you remember what it was that Matt just asked you?
He asked me to explain what you asked me. He said, are you going to answer Promise's question?
No,
That's
sir.
what he said.
No, sir. No, I fucking
That's
didn't.
not what he said.
Rewind the tape. Rewind the tape.
Let me ask. I don't need to rewind it,
I can't wait to make a
dumbass.
clip of this.
I don't need to rewind it. I'm going to ask you the same question again.
Ask you.
Are you ready to concede that when you answered Promise that the reason we need to believe in God is because if we don't, we couldn't speak or talk? Are you ready to concede that that statement you made was false and try to rehabilitate it? Or are we done?
Okay, to further explain that.
No, I'm sorry. I just asked you a yes or no question. I just asked you an either or question. Okay. So then I need you to say, I acknowledge that what I said was false and I would like to rehabilitate my position.
I would like to rehabilitate my false position.
Well, you kind of got there, but okay, we'll go with that you are now acknowledging that what you said was bullshit, and now you would like to correct that.
Well, it's convoluted. It's convoluted.
No, please
it's convoluted.
Please do. I don't need you to talk until I'm ready. I don't need you to talk until we ask you the question. You have no longer have a right to speak unless we ask you a question. That's what happens when you demonstrate that you don't have a fucking clue about how to have an honest conversation. So the question that Promise to ask you was, why should Promise and I believe in God?
Okay, you should believe in God because many before you have, almost all of them, at some point in time of their life, they believed in God. You and Promise, including me. All the atheists out there, the majority of them at one point in time believe.
Okay, Alex, I've muted you again because you clearly don't listen and you aren't being serious. You think we should believe in God because many before us have. And as I pointed out, the number of people who believe something, the strength of their conviction, and the length of time that they believed and the length of time that belief has persisted tells you nothing at all about whether or not it's true, Mr. More Rational Than You. That would be a population fallacy, an argumentum ad populum, an appeal to the popularity of the idea. That is a demonstrable fallacy. It is a known fallacy. Mr. You understand reason better than I do. But you also then repeated your lie. You amended it to be that the majority of atheists used to believe. Okay, let's go down this path of Promise used to believe, I used to believe. We stopped believing when we realized there was not sufficient evidence for the claim and there was no rational argument to justify the claim. You, on the other hand, say you were born an atheist, and a couple months ago, you turned into a theist. And when we asked why, you did not give a rational argument. You gave fallacious arguments over and over and over. And then when we asked you to expand on it further, you then lied and said that everybody believes in a God, which is not only irrelevant and fallacious, but it's also untrue. Now you're amending it to say, well, most people believed in a God, which is irrelevant and fallacious. Instead of running around pretending and claiming that you are better at critical thinking than I am, you should really go demonstrate that you are better at critical thinking than anybody, because right now you're among the worst critical thinkers I've ever engaged with.
Well, talking about this particular subject against what you're saying is kind of difficult to wrestle. You know what I'm saying? Considering
That's not my
that
problem.
I have no foundation. I have no foundation. I have no foundation to stand on, considering my whole life I've never believed in any of this God stuff.
Your whole life
Alex,
is irrelevant.
When you get
Alex,
what's up, Promise? Yes, ma'am.
so you know that the majority of people used to believe in geocentrism, which is the idea that the Earth is the center of everything. They also used to believe that the Earth was flat. And then eventually we figured out
I would have
that
never
was wrong,
believed that.
and you don't know that. That's really arrogant
Alex,
to say. You have no idea.
Absolutely thinks he's 19 times smarter than he actually is. Oh, I would never fall for that. Dude, you just fell for the most obvious bullshit repeatedly. I'm sorry, I promise I'll stop.
The next thing I was going to get to is to try to explain to you this fallacy that Matt took the time to already explain to you, which is this appeal to popularity. If, let's say, everybody stops over the next 100 years, everybody pretty much stops believing that gods exist. The majority of people don't believe gods exist. 10,000 years from now, does that mean now we can say gods don't exist? Is that how this works? That based on what is popular, that's what's true?
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at with y'all. Check this out. Listen, Jesus is going to eventually vanish, and all the other gods, the Quran and stuff like that, that's going to go away because
Alex,
it is quite ridiculous.
You didn't answer what I said.
I'm about to. I'm answering. This is the answer.
Nope. No, it's not. Here's my question for you. Does something being popular make it true?
You have to consider the data.
Sometimes that's not the answer to the question. Alex,
yes.
That's not the answer to the question.
The answer is no. The answer is no.
Alex finally got it right. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. So the number of people who believe something isn't relevant to whether or not it's true. It's the data that shows whether or not it's true, correct?
Right.
The history.
No, not the history. Not the history at all. Historically, people have believed all kinds of wrong stuff. The way we know it's true is not because they believed it or because it's history, but because of the data. So what's the data for God?
I'm not talking about the minutia. I'm not talking about the small things. I'm talking about the overall sense that there is a presence, that there is a Lord over you.
You're not listening. Not Lord, but you're not listening to me, and so now I'm done listening to you. But Promise can continue trying. Like legitimately, you will not hear another word from me. I promise you, Alex. I have no interest in. You are so much better at reasoning than me. I'm now stunned.
I am. I see you turning red over there. You turning red as a cherry.
Alex,
like
nobody's turning red.
It shouldn't be that way.
Alex, okay, I'm muting you. So here's the problem, Alex. I don't actually want to talk to you anymore either, because the way you just spoke to my friend for no reason, when Matt's been really patient with you this entire time, despite how arrogant you've been back and forth and interrupting and all of that. Before I let you go, I am going to say, you may have been an atheist your whole life. You have not applied skepticism to anything. And that's how you just found yourself so easily converted to something, but you can't even tell us why. We had a conversation for 33 minutes now, and we haven't learned anything. So I think you should go take this experience you've had and apply a lot of questions to it instead of assertions. I think you need to be learning more and asking more questions and being skeptical before you can ever call yourself a critical thinker. On that note, I'm going to let you go. Apparently, I'm the one wanting to end the phone calls today because I'm not in the mood. Like,
it is wild to be like, oh, I'm so much better than you at critical thinking that I see you turning red. No, I'm frustrated that the world continues to get stupider, and so do the calls.
Also, turning red is indication of nothing. I'm probably going to turn red multiple times during this show because it's 1,000,000 degrees in this room, and that happens. So just thing after thing after thing pointing to Zero critical thinking skills. Anyways, are we ready to try again with another theist caller?
I'm ready. I'm optimistic that we can find something that's definitely stronger.
Hey, come on, man. We gotta promote that clip we all just watched.
Well, I'd rather not shill.
Okay, well, Daddy has a $2,000 a month red oak habit, and I am your production god, and you will shill when I tell you to shill. Dance for me, baby.
Go, God damn it. Why did my life come to this? Go to patreon.com/call-the-line and donate. God damn it.
This is what happens when we let live chatters write our scripts.